Hello there, and welcome to the Construction Revolution podcast. My name is Eric Yee, and here on the show, we explore the latest trends, technologies, people, and organizations that are revolutionizing or disrupting the construction industry and changing what the industry will look like tomorrow. Today on the show, I'm speaking with the co-founder and CEO of Giatec Scientific, Pouria Ghods. Dr. Ghods is an experienced entrepreneurial leader with a history of pushing the concrete industry forward through smart construction solutions. He has extensive knowledge of concrete material science, corrosion engineering, and non-destructive testing. With a postdoctoral fellow focused in material engineering from the University of British Columbia, Dr. Ghods has accumulated more than 150 peer-reviewed publications. So without further ado, let's hear from Pouria just after this. So I'd like to start off by going back 10 years prior to the start of Giatec. Could you walk me through what you were doing at the time and what caused you to start the company?
Thanks, Eric. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this podcast series. So the Giatec basically we established it 10 years ago, right? Going back 10 years ago, 2010, I just graduated from PhD from Carleton University, and at the same time, coincident, my business partner, was doing the PhD and kind of graduated, a little bit earlier, 6 months earlier than me from Ottawa U. And at that point, we were thinking that, what would be our, we had few options, right, in terms of professional career, what would be our jobs basically, like in the long term, whether we're going to go, we had few options, as I mentioned, to be a prof at universities, research, further doing research, or teaching, basically educating basically students. That's on the other option we had, joining another consulting company firms, especially in concrete materials, construction materials, to basically doing engineering, more consulting work. And the third option, which happened to be our path, long-term path, and that took us, where we are at right now, was try to do another, like a new thing, out of the box kind of, out of norm, basically, career path, developing a company, like an establishment of the startup company, to try basically at least give it a try, whether we can bring some of those high level, very advanced scientific knowledge that exists in academia, research, scientific paper, bring them to the application, right, to the construction side, to the concrete industry, to solve the real-time problem, right? So more from practical point of view. And whether we can basically bridge the gap between those two, basically, market, like education, very, very advanced stuff happening at universities, but in construction, unfortunately, the adoption of the technology is very low, and as a result, there's a huge gap between those two sectors. The level of knowledge is really high, but the adoption is very low. And we try to bridge the gap basically through this company. And the key to that, how simple, how far we can go with the simplicity to make a very advanced concept, scientific concept, to package it very simple, plug and play solution, basically, that the construction industry can absorb it. And as a result, the adoption of that the technology become faster over time. And we see in our lifetime, at least, that was our vision, to see significant change to the extent of revolutionizing the industry, right, in our lifetime. That was our vision, that was our passion, basically. That's what we were passionate about. We started this company.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. And so it's very interesting when you talk about there being such a large divide between where the science is at, or the knowledge is at in academia, and the adoption rate in the construction industry, like the people that would be most impacted by it. So I can see it would be a big challenge to bridge that. So during the early days of Giatec, what other challenges did you kind of face when entering the industry?
So yeah, that's a good question, Eric. One of the big challenges we had entering into industry, I mean, from our side, was more weakness of Giatec at that time was lack of understanding the industry as a whole, right? The whole
Hmm.
ecosystem, construction industry as a whole, which is a big industry, like over $10 trillion industry. And we had just our view, our lens was so narrowed basically to the industry. We were looking at the industry more from concrete science, corrosion science point of view. And as a result, we didn't have a full understanding as we have in terms of the whole ecosystem and how we can basically bring a solution with much higher impacts that or to have the biggest impact possible at that time. And that's something basically came to us kind of as an evolution, right? So over the time, over the 10 years. So the level of understanding right now is much higher. And that was one of the biggest barrier to entry basically to the market, that the solution we initially developed, over the first few years, until 2015 was more very advanced solution, very technical, addressing the big problem, but the market, it was very niche, basically, market we were trying to develop the solution, which is concrete testing labs, initially like a very advanced device to look at the quality of the concrete, durability of the concrete. It was really cool device. We still use this basically, you sell that to the market. We have it as a part of offering, but the size of the market was quite small, and as a result we couldn't scale the business basically on that,
Hmm.
basically bring more offering and to truly impact the whole sector, not just the concrete sector, and also in concrete sector very niche part of that, which is a testing sector or a testing lab, basically testing setup. And that was part of the mistake and not the mistake, kind of learning curve we gone through basically to understand a little bit better market first concrete industry. Now as of today, we have a good, much better actually at least understanding on the construction industry as a whole.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like how you started off saying it was a mistake, but also it's not, because it's just learning the right way to do things or where the opportunity truly lies as you learn things more and more. So
Exactly.
I know that Giatec is really known for the smart rock, which is like a concrete sensor that measures temperature, can accurately predict concrete strength. But there's a lot of other products that Giatec has. I'm wondering, maybe you could go into a few of them and how you saw an opportunity in the market and you kind of developed different solutions to address them.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, that was part of our evolution at Geotech, right? So that that's a good basically follow-up question. A little bit diving a little bit more what happened over the past 10 years, but and also what was the journey that took us to the current point, with the current offering compared to 10 years ago. Yeah, as I briefly mentioned, when we started the concrete testing device, it was really advanced. We were changing. We believe at that time we believed that we're going to change significant concrete industry, but soon after we found that again the market size is not big enough, and we had a pivot basically 2013, yeah, around 2012, 13, getting to the more consulting solution, right? Engineering solution for non-destructive assessment or condition assessment of current infrastructure, existing infrastructure. And yeah, we came up with two devices currently named iCore and Excel for the corrosion assessment of infrastructures. And with that two products, we had a little bit further traction. Market was bigger, the pain was much bigger, and as a result, we had we had further traction to the market. But the problem we had, our business model was not a very basically attractive business model, right? To establish a corporation, so to scale the corporation, yeah, the business model was high price tag, with high margin product, but something that would last 20 years, like in the hands of the customers, and there is not much repeat revenue, and there is not much growth,
Hmm.
basically, like to scale the company. And yeah, in 2015, we found that okay, so we need to make another pivot at that time to fix the business model, right? The revenue model mainly, how we can basically have approach a bit much bigger market again, right revenue model, and basically right strategy. And 2015, we came up with the concrete sensor line, and that concrete sensor was a disposable sensor where like it can be, I mean, can you use just once basically for every pour. And as a result, the market was much bigger. So every concrete pour that happening on the planet, they need a few sensors for monitoring the concrete sensor in the field. There's more in situ monitoring of the concrete, and but what high volume, low price tag, but it's still high margin basically business. And with that, basically we see that business is scaling quite rapidly, 50% year over year growth, and as a result, we basically start making the corporation bigger by more hiring, increasing the staff, and start focusing on that line of product by bringing second generation of the sensor 2017, and the third generation a few months ago 2020. And yeah, we still have a plan basically to bring more than the next generation of the sensor by increasing the basically broadening the features and capability of the sensor that is still disposable, can be it would be used basically as a IoT solution to provide more information on the quality or characteristics of the concrete during after pouring at different stages. And we are planning to expand the application of the sensor even before the pouring time, when the concrete is in the production batching plant, all the way in the transition, as well as the other side of that, after pouring all the way through the life of the infrastructure, to basically have a kind of end-to-end solution, and like from beginning to end kind of visibility to the concrete quality. That's our kind of vision right now, high vision approach to the concrete industry.
So it's really interesting hearing the story of how you kind of pivoted products. One thing that I just on a personal note I wanted to ask you was, how does it feel, or when you think back to where you started, knowing where you are now? It must be a very cool or very exciting feeling to create a product and then have a company grow around it.
Yeah.
So Giatec had his 10th birthday earlier this year, which is a huge accomplishment. With that amount of time in the industry, what have you seen change
compared to last 10 years ago?
Yes, compared to 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good. Now I understand very well your question. Yeah, there have been many changes actually happening over the past 10 years. One is basically internal. So maybe I can classify them to internal change. What is happening at Giatec, and external changes. What is happening to the market as a whole? Maybe I'll start with the external one. What we are seeing. We have been seeing basically that. Happening in the markets is digitalization, and basically the change in the construction industry as a whole, adopting more technology, basically becoming more technology company than construction, like a builder company, right? So there is a big trend and movement there that we were seeing these, especially these days, that most of the construction companies are more open and basically moving, even rallying in some case, behind the technology, promoting the technology. That was not the case in 2010. So when we started the company, now there is more level of adoption and openness basically for technology, embracing the technology, new things, much higher level of desire in the market compared to 10 years. And this is a good news, right? This is a good news, not only for us, for the construction industry as a whole. And we wish probably with that, we would see over the next 5 to 10 years, significant changes, or maybe to the extent of revolutionization of the industry, as a whole over the 5-10 years. And that is come with all threats and also opportunities, right? Depends on where you're at in this spectrum. If you're early adopter, that would be a great opportunity. But if you're a late adopter or old kind of mindset customer kind of in the market, so that might be threat, because if you're too far behind the crowd, you may miss basically opportunity, or it might be too late basically for adoption of the technology. That's something we have seen over the 10 years on the market side. But internally at Giatec, what we have seen that kind of evolutionary, nothing revolutionary. Still we have the same level of passion, same level of desire, creativity, culture. Like a culture. Our Giatec culture is around 3 things: are around creativity, passion, as well as integrity. From that perspective, not much changes we have right now compared to 10 years ago. We are seeing it's pretty much the same thing. Still, we're passionate every day coming to the office. Still, we want to be creative, to use innovation, to be innovative as much as we can, as well as integrity, which is the must things to have. We would like to treat everybody with respect, a high level of integrity, transparency, all those things that come with integrity. But one thing that you change over compared to 10 years ago, the level of maturity we have in the team, right? The corporate maturity significantly increases year over year, right? So with more resources, more senior people, experienced people, and also ourselves, myself even, understanding better the market, and also gaining experience in the business, from business side, how to run the business, how to manage business as a CEO. Basically, these are the changes I see that we didn't have those kind of capability, resources, or mentality compared to 10 years ago. We think much bigger compared to 10 years ago as an organization, right? And also we set ourselves with much bigger success right now compared to 10 years ago. Yeah, this is more basically growing like a part of the maturity that we are getting, corporate maturity that we are gaining. And that's why every 5 years we set a bigger goal for the company, right? 2015, we set a goal, to be dominant in concrete sensor. Now we are seeing that we are the market leader. And next 5 years, we have another goal basically to be much bigger. And also as a result, impact, right? That's what we are more passionate about, to have a higher impact, bigger changes, make a planet better places for living, right? So by making quality of the concrete infrastructure better, and also the footprint of construction, right? Carbon footprint of the construction, GHG, basically emission on the planet less. I guess we can later on in another session with me or our CTO, basically Ali Alizadeh, get into that a little bit, the detail of what we are trying to establish from the technology point of view. But yeah, definitely, we every 5 years, we set higher goal, and compared to 10 years, we have much higher, bigger challenges, but at the same time, we're excited to the same level, because as we grow, we basically raise the bar higher, so that, when we wake up, we have something to do, right? Otherwise, there's no job for me. That's how I see my job, not only set the bar higher, but also work with the team, basically to rally the whole team to basically move faster and, basically achieve a much higher goal, and as a human being, be able to have some great, bigger impact, in our lifetime, right? If it's possible.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something that a lot of people strive for, is to have some kind of lasting impact on the world after they kind of leave it. So, as one of the leaders in the industry, looking forward now, what trends do you see, or what can you maybe predict that you would think will happen or would like to see happen over the next 10 years?
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. Next 10 years is, of course, it's difficult to predict, right? There's lots of unknown uncertainties there.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we see, from the past, and kind of extrapolating basically the trend basically from the past, for the future, moving forward, kind of extrapolation, is telling us that the era of internet connectivity, basically the connectivity that we are getting in a way that in a second, in a portion of the second, you get access to information, around the other side of the planet, right? So the other side of the globe, in a portion of the second, any data that you can imagine, you can have access at your fingerprint. So, right, this is possible, became possible over the past 20 years because of the connectivity, internet connectivity, telecommunication advancement. There are lots of advanced internet by itself. And my view on that, that is probably that connectivity basically would change the construction industry dramatically, or in a positive way, right? So in a positive way is that everything going to be connected in construction industry, in concrete industry. Everything would be measurable. Everything basically would be quantifiable. And as a result, there are lots of efficiency, productivity, and basically de-risking of the whole business construction, in high construction business, from the safety point of view, from financial would be happening in a positive way again. because of the connectivity, right? So that we are seeing that, impacting every single of light, like a smart city, connected car, vehicle, or everything that you see in other sectors would basically be seen basically, or would be uh, adopted in the construction industry the same fashion. Might be a little bit, but the rate is a little bit more questionable. It's happening or not. My hunch is that, yeah, definitely it's going to happen. But what will be the rate of adoption? What will be the rate? I guess that would be more questionable, whether we're going to be see significant rate of the change or trend in the construction or not. I guess that's a bigger question. But there are a couple of signs, telling us that's going to be relatively fast, comparable to other sector like a health sector, compared to transportation sectors, food, agriculture industry. Like, yeah, it seems that construction is picking up, in terms of the technology trend.
Yeah, I know the construction industry is typically maybe a slow adopter, but it does seem like from my limited exposure, they are ramping up quickly compared to other industries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Pouria, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners will as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric, for inviting me and having me. That was a really great conversation. Really enjoy basically exchanging idea with you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.